Welcome back. So today we're going to be making a picture using the pezzenttino squares. So this is on Shutterfly under Files, and you can just print it out. And as you can see, there's a bunch of different size squares similar to what was in the book. Now I'm going to show you the easiest way to do this. So again, I encourage using crayons because it strengthens hands, and part of what your child would be working on right now is establishing the ability to keep with a project. So even if their hands get tired, it's not to say that then they quit. So the idea is that we need to keep persevering through our activity. So I would suggest just choosing 4 colors, and then as you do it, so there's 2 ways that you can color. So I teach the kids that if their hand is starting to get tired or their fingers start to hurt, is that you move the crayon around in circles, and that way it's not so much putting a lot of pressure on the hand, on your fingers, but you're just sort of making circles, and then it's done. Another way to do it is just to move the crayon back and forth, and then that also kind of reduces a lot of the pressure on your hand. So some kids who are very heavy-handed will press really, really, really hard, and if you think about pressing really, really hard, they're tensing up all these muscles unnecessarily. So if you notice that your child is pressing so hard and they're spending so much time coloring in this one little space and taking so much time, which is great that they want to take a lot of time, but it's also they're wasting a lot of energy unnecessarily. So you might want to just gently model. So I would suggest showing them, so maybe printing 2 of these out, and also too, you can cut the paper in half. You do 1/2, they do 1/2. It really depends on where your child is. Now, another problem that sometimes we see is kids whose hands that they go too light and that they don't press. So that's why we kind of have to say, all right, like just, kind of push in. So push, 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 and we push, push, push the crayon, and that also will help your child color in and feel satisfied with what they're doing. Okay, so once you have all the squares colored in, your paper will look like this. And again, I chose just 4 colors. And one of the things too is that you just choose one and you just randomly choose different squares, so that you're not coloring the blue square, putting the blue down, then picking up the pink and coloring in this, and then putting this one down. What you're doing is you're coloring in blue, coloring in blue, coloring in blue, coloring in blue, coloring in blue. That's a more effective way to work. So that's another thing, is like looking at how your child's working, how effective that they're being in their productivity. So you want to always pay attention to that. So once you have all of that colored, the next task is to cut the squares out. Now, this is a great opportunity that if you have older children who are kind of, if they're done with their work or they need a break, this is a good activity to kind of give a break to, particularly if you have multiple kids. They can kind of assist, plus you can. So, but if your kid really needs to practice cutting, this is a good way to really get those fingers. And plus you can like put it away and then come back. This could be a project that you could do over 2 days. It could be one that you extend throughout the day. Like in the morning, you color it, you break, you do your tracing sheets, and then you have a snack, lunch, and then you come back and you cut it out and make the picture. So one of the things, because there's so many squares, and we kind of want to have a lot of squares because we want to make a really cool picture, what you'd want to do is cut the paper into thirds. And that way we kind of chunk it out. So then when you give your child, now I always start with the harder. So you kind of always want to leave the bigger squares for the end. Actually, you might want to give them this first so that they have to cut out the smaller squares first. And again, it's about teaching what is the most effective way to cut something out. So if you teach them that, okay, I'm coming over here and then I'm going to go all the way across like this, look at that. I've gotten kind of, and then I can go across like this, across all the way down, and then I can go boom, 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 and it's always really effective to make noises while you're cutting. We do it a lot when we paint. So the least effective way to cut something out is to cut each square very meticulously. And that's going to take a long time. Now granted, if your child likes to do that, that's fine. But the situation is that once they get to kindergarten, there's a certain time frame that they have to complete projects. So this is an opportunity to teach, okay, this is the most effective way to do it. This is what but when you give advice and guidance, it's more, instead of telling them, say, you know, I was thinking, maybe why don't you try it this way? And see what happens. Is a little bit more, you know, kids would be a little bit more inclined to kind of go along with that. Okay, so I'm going to cut these out and I'll be back. Okay, so I finished cutting out all my squares, and now before I glue, I'm going to kind of decide where I want them. So my suggestion is play around with it. I kind of have an idea already. So I'm going to use the big ones first to make a body. And then I'm going to use the smaller ones. And because I'm not gluing yet, I can move my pieces around and kind of decide. So see, I want maybe like a bigger piece to be here, smaller piece there. And you can always like go back and look at the book too, if you want to copy one of the ideas there. So that's always an option too. And then because I chose 4 colors, I can always make, you know, a pattern. So that's something too. But again, the idea is to kind of have fun with these and practice coloring, cutting, and being able to put something together to make something. So if you can kind of think of this as when they learn how to read, we put letters to make words to go into sentences. So this is sort of similar to that we have pieces of a puzzle that we're putting together to make something. So here's my something that runs. And you can like bend, like these are the legs and they're going up. Might even take a black crayon and make a face. All right, so I'm gonna glue that down. I'll be back. Okay, welcome back. And so this is my final picture. So again, have fun with it, and if you have older siblings, this is a great activity, fun activity to do. And if you have markers, you could always use markers instead. But like I said, that the crayons really do help with the fine motor skills, the fine motor strength. So it's really something that we would strongly recommend that you do. All right, have fun. I can't wait to see what creations you're going to make.